We're thrilled to have you with us tonight, joining our Savvy Ladies panel that get savvy about your career. We've been really blessed to host a number of panels this year, and I have to tell you, the career panels have been really well received. So we're so glad to have you here this evening. This is the last panel in our annual series, and we're going to be planning so many more as we head into 2023. And we have our gala coming up in November. So I can't believe I'm already speaking November here, but that really will be our big next production that we'll be doing. So stay tuned to hear all about the gala, but it is November 16th, so Wednesday evening. So save that date so you can join us. So many of you know all about Savvy Ladies. Every woman, no matter who you are, needs a financial roadmap. That could be as you're starting your career, your mid-career, you're retiring. It's how to save money, how to budget, how to think about investing and living your best life. I'm Judy Herbst, the Executive Director of Savvy Ladies, and it really is my honor to be able to pull together amazing women that we have tonight for this wonderful panel that will be very informative and inspiring to you as well. I think many of you know about our helpline. I like to say all roads lead to the Savvy Ladies helpline. It is a free financial helpline where we have a community of volunteers. Today, we have over 160 volunteers who volunteer their time offering guidance, financial guidance to women who have a financial question. Because when you have that question and you have a safe place to answer it, you can move mountains, feel confident, and start building your financial future. We're really excited. The Savvy Ladies helpline is, I want to say, open 24/7. You can submit your question and we match you with a volunteer. And that does take some time, 24, 36 hours, but you do get matched very quickly to get your question answered. It's been phenomenal. And this year to date, we have connected over 1,500 women. That is a number that the organization has never seen before. It's showing how much this is needed and how much women are looking for financial advice. So kudos to all the women out there who are seeking and asking the question. That is the first step in securing your financial future. So tonight, what is tonight all about? It is our Get Savvy series about your career, rebooting, rethinking, building resilience, or rebuilding your resilience in your career. Our panelists tonight have gone through career changes. They've rethought their careers. They rebooted them. They have their insights to share with us, their tips, their own personal stories. And I'm really excited to introduce our stellar list of speakers this evening. I'll begin with Lauren Young, who is our moderator tonight. She is a lifelong journalist and she lives her passion every single day. She is amazing. I just loved meeting her this year, working with her. She's hosted some panels before. She's phenomenal. And she believes in what she writes about, which is money, career, finance. And she's have so many projects on her plate. Currently, she is the personal finance and digital expert at Reuters, and it is really a thrill to have her here today. She's a Philadelphia native, and she calls Brooklyn her hometown, and she just said she spent some time in Times Square today where there were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, which is actually really good that New York is back to life and people are in the streets. Sherry Little is joining us as a panelist. She is the managing director and head of Chase Wealth Management Advice and Strategy. She practices and advises strategic growth at JP Morgan Chase. And I am really excited to have her here to share her story, the impact, and to share the importance of what power and grit and determination means to her, because she is resilient, and what it means to have an independent mindset, and what that means to build a network and connect with the right people. Really welcome, Sherry. Thrilled to have you here. Manisha. And I love Manisha because she always introduces herself as Manisha rhymes with Patricia. Manisha, and so if hopefully I'm saying it correctly, Manisha rhymes with Patricia. She is lovely and wonderful. She's traveling bi-coastal from Portland to Portland. And she said today she's only seen about 3 or 4 people today. This is the world we live in, and it's great that we have people bi-coastal here on our panel today. But she is a writer. She shares her story. She was the founder of Money Zen, and she has found she uses her passion and her love for well-being and health and wellness, and how that marries with her financial future, and what she has done today to realize her own financial health is really she's passionate about, and it will be a great story to hear her share. Julie Johnson is joining us. She is president and CEO of YX Communication. She is a dynamo. She's full of energy, and I love having met her this year. She's been an authority on the intergenerational connection and the dynamics between men and women in the workplace. She has a story and a career where she's powered through her career and has now found her own sort of healthy path to a career that she now can be very passionate about. So excited for Julie to share her story. And Lenan, coming to us from California, and she is from JP Morgan Chase. She is an experienced financial leader with over 20 years experience in wealth management and business development. She also comes while building her career. She has served in the United States Army active reserves for 8 years, has been awarded many honors and medals, and she is so passionate about serving our veterans and our community and her peers and her colleagues, volunteering to help advance financial wellness with her colleagues and act as a mentor. So this is what we're about today. Our helpline is here for you. And I turn it over to Lauren and our panelists, and we'll start the conversation today.
Thank you so much, Judy. I really appreciate it. And everyone should know Judy is equally a spark. You know, she's just so passionate about this topic, and we would not be here today without her organizational skills and encouragement. So thank you, Judy. I think I'll start with you, Julie, just because I'm looking at my screen and the boxes. Obviously, so much has happened in the past 2+ years in terms of work and life. And, you know, like I said, or Judy said in the introduction today, I was in Times Square. I went to the office. 2 days last week. Imagine that. And today I went to the office. But it still feels strange to me. And we talk about rebooting, and I'm curious, what does rebooting look like for you right now? Julie, what are you seeing?
Thank you so much, Lauren. And yes, kudos to Judy for being a rock star. As many of us have in my 25-year career, I think I've restarted at least 3, maybe 4 times, and never, not even one, well, maybe one of those times was by choice. They were due to health issues or COVID or what have you. And so I think the rebooting, what it means to me is never giving up, figuring out, okay, if that didn't work or that's not the place for me right now, what is, and how can I best serve others in that place? Where are the needs? Where are the pain points? And how do I do my due diligence, do my homework, and figure out solutions? So it's truly the cliche of never giving up. The cliche of excuse my language, shit happens, now what, right? What are we going to do about it? So my quick and dirty answer.
No, that was great. Sherry, I know you've worked for a couple really big companies in your career. And when no matter what's going on in the world, changing jobs is stressful, right? Throw in a pandemic and throw in whatever, it could be financial stuff, but I'm curious, what are your tips for rebooting, recreating, rethinking your career?
So I don't even know if it's as big as rethinking the career. Like I never had a grand rethink of my career, but I was always looking for something that challenged me. So I was thinking about that when you said, ask the question, like, I don't think of it as this big grand decision. It's more of like, what skills do I need to develop? What's the next thing to develop the skill? And I would say to people that are looking at different careers, I don't know if you get caught up right now in the career that's too big of a decision or the institution. Get in the door, learn some things, network, then figure out what you're good at, what you don't like, and then go from there. I think it would be too hard to say reboot or think of it in a career term because it seems too overwhelming. I would just start somewhere, get in the door, get challenged, and then build from there.
Manisha, I've known Manisha for a while professionally, and I've seen your career evolve. And I'm curious for you, what was the thought process in terms of taking risks and really making some big decisions in terms of changing the direction of where you were going in your own career?
There are two parts to the answer. One is very focused and one is completely not focused at all. So I am 52 now, and when I got out of business school, I had this goal in mind that I wanted to immunize my standard of living. And I'm a pretty low-key person, so this is not as dramatic as it sounds, but I wanted to be able to live off my interest and dividends so that I knew that I didn't ever have to worry about money, and I could work because I wanted to work. And by the grace of God of starting off on the institutional side of financial services and saving literally like 80% of what I made, because I was always working, and a couple of back-to-back bull markets, here I am at 52, and I'm in that position. And as I was getting closer to it, it gave me the confidence to shift gears all over the place. Prior to having that confidence that I could leave a job if I didn't enjoy it after 6 months or after 2 years, if I didn't feel my mental health was served by where I was, I just didn't have any qualms about leaving. I've struggled a long time with a variety of mental health issues, anxiety, depression, and other things slightly more severe. And so my mental health has always been so important to me. So I guess I would say it's a combination of leaving when I couldn't take it, and leaving when I found something even more exciting to go take. And I have to say how shocking that is to me, that has been how my career turned out. Because when I got out of Wellesley, I went into investment banking, and I mean, there was a clear path. You did investment banking for 3 years, then you went to Harvard Business School, then you went back to an investment bank or McKinsey, and that was your path. And the fact that I've had so many jobs, last thing I'll just say is I'm now at that stage where I'm doing more board work. And so one of the things that I've noticed, for instance, the first board I joined, most of the people on the board were in their late 60s, 70s, and they'd look at my career path and they'd be flummoxed.
That's a good word for next.
Yeah, so that's the story of why I have some really bizarre things on my resume.
I'm curious, Lanan, you were in the military. So like you started out, that's a very different thing than working in financial services, or not, I don't know. But, talk to me a little bit about your career path and how you've reinvented yourself or iterated yourself along the way. And by the way, we're just going to come back after this, and I'm curious, so please think, how many jobs have each of you ladies had? Think about that. But Lanan, we're going to go to you first.
Okay, I'm going to try not to think about that while I'm answering the question you actually posed, now my mind is spinning. First of all, I need to try to find the word flummoxed and use that like literally before the end of the week. So thank you, Manisha, just so you know that I have to do that. But I think with the military, you're right, Lauren. I mean, it sounds, I think maybe on the surface, very different than what it is I do today. And I think that even when I was in the Navy, I probably would have thought that there wasn't a clear correlation between that and what we do today in financial services. In hindsight, they're super related, because at the end of the
Why
day,
is that?
it's all about serving, right? It's all about serving, getting rid of self so that you can serve the greater good. You know, the person, my seaman next to me or the warrior next to me, you'll hear somebody say, you got to have, have my 6. And I still use that vernacular. Listen, don't worry, I've got your 6. And what that means is that if I'm 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock is right behind me. Or if I'm 6 o'clock, then 12 o'clock's right in front of me. And the idea, even in financial services now, is you've got to have each other's 6, and you've got to have people in your corner that will have yours. And so much of what I learned through the Department of Defense, specifically with the Navy, it's all about honor, courage, and commitment. That's the mantra for the U.S. Navy. And so those have become pillars in my career. Who am I going to be from a place of honor, courage, and commitment to myself, to my family, to the people I care about, and to the people who I'm responsible for? How do I show up that way? So it just turned out that it wasn't much of a leap. And even getting into financial services from the Navy was the whole reason. From a personal perspective, is my father was also Navy. He died active duty during the Gulf crisis. At the time, it was the Gulf crisis. At first, it was a conflict and the crisis and eventual war. And so, an officer comes to your house and they give you the yellow envelope. They still do that. The pomp and circumstances of it all, they still do that. I was 22 and,
Wow.
Our world changed on a dime with Daddy's death. And so I watched my mom attempt to hold down the fort at home and then try to make all these crazy financial decisions. And in the moment, I thought, there is no way that a widow of a warrior should have to suffer like this. And that actually became the springboard for my transitioning from the military to financial services. So for me, they're very connected.
I'm curious, and I think I asked this, if you could, I wonder who the winner is here in terms of who's had the most jobs. Julie, do you have a sense of how many jobs you've had in your career? You've done me.
Sorry. Yeah. So after college,
Yeah, I'm gonna say after college. 'Cause
after
all the
college,
babysitting gigs and everything we did, yeah.
right. So 8.
8. Okay, Sherry?
I can't count them. I can tell you this though. 3 big companies, GE, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and JP Morgan. This is the longest job I've been in at 4.5 years. So I've had, and I'm 45. So I've since 20, after grad school, 23, 25, I don't even know. For 20 years, I would say I'm rotating through something every 2 to 4 years in 3 big companies. And that's how
Right, so I'm gonna ask you about resilience when we get to the resilience part. Nan, how many jobs do you think you've had?
I'm only taking stabs in the dark, but I mean, gosh, before coming to JP Morgan, I was with Bank of America Merrill Lynch for 18 years. And I mean, like Sherry, I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm just gonna throw out 15.
I was
12
gonna
to
say 15 or 20, something like
15,
that. Yeah.
something like that. I'm gonna throw out 15 in terms of the roles that I've played. Absolutely.
Manisha, how many do you think you've had?
8 different organizations, probably 14 across, if I include each job at each organization.
Wow, okay.
So can I chime back in, Lauren?
Yeah,
Sorry,
go
I
ahead,
didn't.
Julie.
So I didn't take into account the different roles within, Smith Barney, UBS, etc. So if that's in play, it's much more like 15.
Right, all right, so basically, for everybody who's attending, here are, 4 very successful, savvy women who have had a lot of jobs. Combined between us, we're probably upwards of 100 if I add me and Judy, who had a major career pivot too. So that's gutsy to be able to just kind of do different things and try different stuff. What do you think it is that has given you the confidence to take those risks? It's not, I know people that have been in the same job for 30 years. It's not as common anymore, but I do still know those people. So why do you think that you've been able to be successful and do what you've done? Julie, I'll go to you just because you did the math first.
You know, I was very lucky. I grew up with a mom who is just a amazing role model, and I grew up with worthiness issues and, you know, all of that garbage. You know, imposter syndrome. And then I had the opportunity to work with Brene Brown for a year. And that was after I left Smith Barney and UBS. And honestly, I credit her with having the guts and the courage to then start my own path, much like, you know, Manisha, outside of the corporate world. And so between my mom and Brene Brown and so many other fabulous mentors, it's been people that have helped me get out of my own way, basically.
Thank you. And Sherry, what do you think what's been the motivating factor for you? Why do you think you've been able to just keep plugging along, particularly in 3 very large companies, and they have very different cultures?
Yeah, very different cultures. And I have 2 career history paths. So I was in leadership development HR for a number of years, and then switched a career path to go into more the line of business work, practice management now. But I don't view those as switches because I think all skills are transferable. I really do, unless you're building a rocket ship. So if you're out there building a rocket ship, perhaps, or an engineer of some type, like I probably can't speak to that. But
Dig
if
a
you're
little
good at
deeper. Tell me what is transferable? Why do you say that?
So if you're good at project management, you're going to be good at project management and marketing. You're going to be good at training at project management. If you're good at leading people or getting building something new, if you're creative and you're a designer, you're going to design it, whether you're at GE or Bank of America. If you are good at resolving conflict, you're going to resolve conflict at JP Morgan or Bank of America. Like, I think a lot of us try to find a shtick or I want to be in marketing. I don't know what that means actually, or I want to be in strategy, or I want to be in training. Like, to me, I want to find a challenge, build it from scratch, give me the puzzle, and I will figure it out. If that could be a jet engine or that could be a checking account, like, I think I can do that. That's why I have the confidence. Like, I had to learn. I agree with Julie. You do need people to teach you, but I'll soak it up. Give me somebody that does it great. I'll go shadow them for free for a year and figure it out. So I would, for those on the line, I would say, hey, find what you're really good at, find what you're not great at. Like, I'm not a good designer. I'm not good in the white space all the time, but I'm great at execution. Like, give me the idea and I'll get everybody in uniform. That's transferable across all companies in all facets of work environment.
That's really interesting. Lynette, I'm curious for you again, and I don't mean to fall back on this military aspect of it, but like, you have skills from being a leader, and I know from talking to hiring managers and such, they really do look at a military background with a different eye in terms of dedication and organization and those things. It's just it's a different skill set, or
Yeah,
a more focused one, maybe.
I think it is definitely, I think it's more focused, it's more honed in, because when you don't execute, to Sherry's point, if you're not executing from a military statement point of view, people die. Right. And so that, so there's, I think that, I mean, these skills that Sherry's speaking to and that Julie has spoken to, they're the skills that we all have, and many of us have them innately. What we don't have is necessarily, either we don't have or we haven't taken, is the shot at trying them on. That's really, I truly believe that we spend so much time focusing on what our opportunities are, how to bridge the gap of the things we're not good at, versus simply exploiting what we're naturally good at. Yeah. And so those skills are there. They just may or may not have always had the opportunity to shine, or you haven't had an opportunity, or you haven't put yourself in a place to be uncomfortable enough to give it a go. And so when you asked about what gave you the confidence to move and shake and, go in between, sometimes I did those moves and I didn't have confidence. I didn't.
I really
I didn't have the
appreciate you bringing
confidence.
that up.
I absolutely didn't have the confidence.
Or ever.
Or
right?
ever.
Like it's constantly that way. What is the quote? Like what lies outside your comfort zone, that's where the true courage, it's like getting out of your, no, you talked about imposter syndrome, Julie, like we all have that. Like it's not like we are all of a sudden, oh, we're successful now. And like,
Exactly.
we've got it. No, every day I come in like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm doing a good job. Every day.
But then you get people in your corner
Absolutely.
that are going to be truth tellers enough to say, Sherry, you're doing really great at that. Friend, let me talk to you about this other thing though. Let me
That's
lean
right.
in with you here or there. But it's not always a confidence thing. I told you guys earlier, it's on our courage and commitment. And so
Getting
for
out
me,
of our own way.
yeah, so that courage thing, sometimes I've leapt. I've had to just sleep like, oh, and you're like, you're doing this and you just do it. But you have to do it, but you've got to have people that are going to be in your corner. That truth teller thing is real. Because sometimes I've been able to make the leap, not having any confidence whatsoever, but I've got somebody on this shoulder that's like, just do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just do it. Maybe not jump off the cliff, but sometimes it's felt like that. And it's amazing what we can do when we have to. So I think what we have to do is make a decision. Sometimes it's courage. Sometimes it's just making the decision to just do it. And if you fail, so what? Right? You were quoting, I can't remember who you're quoting, Sherry or Julie, but I love Mandela's. He's like, I never fail. I either win or learn.
Learn.
I mean,
No
Love
losing,
that.
only
Love
learning.
that.
the
Yeah.
worst, right? The worst case scenario is that I learned something.
Yeah.
That's a mindset shift.
I remember the quote now, it's on my wall. Life begins outside of your comfort zone. That's what the quote is.
Love that.
You
Well,
turned it-
Lauren, can I interject really quick too? I
Yes.
think for the group, I believe for everyone, it's we get stuck on, and I don't remember if it was Sherry or Lennon, we get stuck on titles, right? And I think Sherry was talking about it. Don't, maybe you've been a mom for 15 years. Think about the skill that requires. Think about everything that you've done to be a good mom. That translates into a job. And so I guess my point is just, again, try not to get in our own way to think about, okay, well, that doesn't translate into a professional job. Sure as heck does. I hope.
managing a budget,
100%.
managing people. I worked at a job where it was the whole team was working moms, and my boss always said, like, give me working moms. That's all I want to have as employees because they get stuff done. But I do have some friends who, my son just went off to college, and I'm in the cohort of people where kids are going off to school. And I have friends who have been staying at home and managing their household. And they're all of a sudden in that now what stage? What should I do? How do I figure it out? And there is, we all on this panel have had careers that we've dipped in and out of or have been steadily in a path. But literally coming in from cold from the outside, Manisha, maybe, do you have advice for somebody, particularly because you look at things with the personal finance eye too? Like, how do you transfer volunteer work, PTA or whatever? How do you make that into a job?
I feel like anybody on this call now of any age, we are in the first generation that is able to speak to skill sets versus job titles. I feel like, I look at my mom and my dad's careers, and I felt like they were dictated so much by what title did you have before, and that will open this door. And well, it sounds like I've had the number of jobs that I've had is fairly similar to our group here. Mine have been some very bizarre twists, and they've happened because of skill sets. And what I've noticed is the skill sets that that they were based on are no different than the skill sets somebody would have doing volunteer work. And at the end of the day, volunteer work is getting a bunch of people together to accomplish some end goal. And business is getting a bunch of people together to accomplish some end goal. So there's a remarkable overlap. And I think for a long time, for a variety of, I would argue, gender nuanced reasons, people didn't want to recognize how much crossover there is. But today, I feel like I think people almost look at kind of crossing between volunteer and paid work and non-profit and for-profit as a brave thing. Whereas 20, 30 years ago, it would have been an insane thing.
No, it's good. I'm curious, Lenan, I'll ask you, what advice would you give to somebody who's like out in the job force right now, trying to figure out what they should do next and may have not been in the workforce in the past few years?
Listen, I want to echo some of the things that Manisha had to say and maybe just piggyback on some earlier comments from Shari. What we see today is very different than even 5 years ago. The fact of the matter is COVID changed the world.
Yes.
Break it down. Tell me how.
Changed the world. So especially for women, changed the world. Punched us in the face in the midst of it. It was really, really tough, right? Which is why we're even here talking about rebooting. If you've got families, you've got, let's say you've got, the woman that was out working, and then the kids were young, and the school shut down. Often it was the mom that was coming home in that environment, not the dad, right? And so you've got this other spouse that's out there continuing in his career, and the woman kind of took this break because we got to take care of the home front. We got to take care of our kids. What I see now, for those of you that are out there that are on the line trying to figure out what's my next move, I think it's encouraging to point out, because of COVID, all that skill set and what the things that you were doing, while it may have been looked down on or not looked down on, but kind of poo-pooed, right? Nobody really understands. Other moms get it, or other women get it, but it may not have been appreciated in the corporate force, in corporate America, or appreciated really in any industry, because of COVID and the fact that if we hadn't done what we did, many of us as women, so many other places would have shut completely down.
So
right?
true.
They had to get flexible, because the fact of the matter is, when we removed women from the workforce, the entire economy suffered.
Mm-hmm.
And so the world had to figure out, all right, we need them. So what do we do now? So now what you find is that you can go in and talk about, well, here's the things that I've been doing over the last 2.5, 3, 5, 10 years. And while you may not have had an ear before, you're listened to with a different ear now. The lens has changed to the good and for the better.
Yep.
And I don't see you going in the other direction. So I would say use that as a strength. Don't feel lesser than. Don't feel like I don't have anything to offer. The skills that you did and the fact that we kept the economy up where it needed to be, use that, hone that. Have courage around that and take pride in it. But the better news is that we have employers that they understand it a lot more than they did pre-COVID.
And let's not forget that there's a labor shortage too. So, these skills that you have.
Name your price.
Yeah. I mean, yes, name your price. And Julie, I'm curious for you, since you are a communications expert, how should we be marketing ourselves? Is it LinkedIn? Is it social media? Like, what do we need to do to present ourselves out into the world in the best light possible?
Absolutely. So it depends a little bit on who is your audience? Who are you trying to communicate with? So if it's more of a corporate presence, probably LinkedIn. If it's more of a solo business, an entrepreneur, smaller business, it's more Facebook. Twitter is becoming far more popular. I actually I'm 52 as well, Manisha, and I told my kids the other day, hey, I'm being told I should start doing videos on TikTok. And they said, oh, dear God, Mom, no. And so it's not an easy answer, I'm afraid, but it's better to do it as much as you possibly can than narrow it too much. But corporate wise, I would say LinkedIn. And there is so much on there that support people looking for jobs. And YouTube and YouTube is a fabulous media venue as well.
For learning for sure too
Yeah,
about different
yeah,
careers and companies. I mean,
100%.
it's amazing how much information, like the knowledge, that we can harness. I'm curious for you, maybe Sherry or Lenon, like, are you still seeing a lot of good old fashioned resumes coming across in your inbox?
Yes, actually. And I would add to what Julie said, a lot of them come from centers of influence that we worked with in the past. So social media is certainly a great platform, but I just extended an offer of a woman I just hired who happened to work with this guy that she sent me. And it's in Texas. I'm not even in Texas. Like, so I tap on people I know,
Yeah.
and I would encourage everyone on here to tap on people you know.
100%.
And I would come forward with all the things that Lenon said you did in the last 2, 3, and 10 years, and I would own it and not apologize. I don't care if that
Yeah.
was carpooling and lunch boxes, like whatever it was. If someone came to me and said, "Hey, Sherry, I haven't been in the workplace and I don't have these skills, but I have these skills and I'm going to do what it takes." That's how I got hired at GE. I was waiting tables in grad school, and I went to the Goodwill and bought a suit and slicked my hair back after serving steaks and said, "Hey, I don't know anything. I'm the youngest one in this class, but I will work until I know." And that's how I got the job.
Yep.
Like, it was not any skill I owned.
It was moxie.
But I was so confident, and I had good recommendations from the teachers that got me in. So don't ever
Networking.
forget how you bring yourself matters, and present yourself with the voice, and don't apologize. If you have young kids, you have young kids. Tell them, "I'm not working on Friday. I'm not going to be able to commute 2 hours on Friday." I have 16-year-olds and I don't commute 2 hours on Friday. So it doesn't matter what range you're in, own it.
I have a dog and I don't commute on Friday. No, I'm serious. I mean,
Exactly.
like, it's just one,
No,
one.
that's right. It changed for the better, I think.
Right. I want to get a little bit more into networking because I do think it's really
It's huge.
adjacent to what it is, but I just assigned a story on this exact topic that more than half of jobs that are filled are through a network, as opposed to just, cold sending in your resume or cold calling. So Manisha, I'll ask you a little bit, like, what are your networking tips for people? You're in a place right now where you only saw 2 people today. Have you done any networking? This counts, I think.
That's only because I'm in rural Maine right now, but I have found network every single job after that very first investment banking analyst job out of undergrad. Every single one has happened through networking. One of the things somebody told me early on is the time to build a network is when you don't need a network. So one of the things that I try and do, this speaks to many of Lenon's comments, is just when somebody reaches out to me for help, if I can possibly help them, I do. And if I can't, I try and reach out to somebody I know who can help them. And what I found is by just making, that's my rule. And by making that my rule over the last 25 plus years, what often happens is that person doesn't help me, but somebody that person knows asks that person, and then the opportunity comes to me. It's kismet, karma, the universe. But that has been my biggest, that has brought more to me than any other strategy. However, I also want to mention, if people haven't seen Carla Harris's amazing talk on the difference between mentors, advisors, and sponsors, it's a brilliant, it's like 3 minutes that will change your life. And the short version is that basically mentors are people you can tell the good, the bad, the ugly to, and mentors are great to have. Advisors are somebody you go to learn a specific skill set, but you're not vomiting your personal stuff on them. You're learning from them and thanking them very much and paying it forward when it's your time. And sponsors are the people with a seat at the table that can advocate for you. And so that's helped me very much professionally. But I also think about that framework when I'm trying to help people. Am I being their mentor, their advisor, their sponsor? What role am I taking on? And what do I feel I can, in what way can I best help them? And once again, it's never that person, but it's somebody that they know, and it's come back. So that's what's worked for me in
You
terms of.
literally were reading my mind, because my next question was all about mentoring. So this conversation is going exactly how I wanted to, but I want to unpack what you said a little bit. How do you find a mentor? How do you know that a mentor is a good mentor? You can have, how do you trust that person? Sherry, who are your mentors and how have you found them?
That's a tough one. I have them in and out of work, but I tend to, like, I have this logo, like, I don't do coffee. Like, I don't do the chit chat mentoring networking. I would rather be, what is the challenge? I go back to this, put me in the situation. What is the next situation that I need to be in or a part of that develops the skill? I do agree with Manisha on the title thing. Like, I know that at certain stages in your career that is important. I am more interested in the work because I want to come in happy. And we don't work for people. We know the whole thing. We don't work for companies, work for people. Like, I want to come in happy and challenged. So I don't necessarily say I would point to one person that's like guiding me, but I do surround myself with truth tellers, Lenon. I love that line. Like, I don't need to hear what I did good. I think I know what I did good. I want you to just rip it apart. And then I do need sponsorship. So I'll take a couple of people in each role I'm in and elect that sponsorship. I want to be in the room during this, and I want to hear the discussion, even if I'm not presenting. And I ask for that. I don't wait. I've never waited for someone to tap me. I ask for it. Someone was just with me earlier and they kept asking, they said they wanted to go into management. I'm like, have you told anybody that? You hadn't told anybody that. I'm like, well, how would they know? So that's my tip.
Well, then how have you found your truth tellers?
It's the ones, a lot of times it's like, man, that was painful. Can you stay in my corner? And so I think the best mentors that I have are the ones where I've had to just let my pride go, right? If it's bruised ego a little bit or bruised pride a little bit, but I knew that it came from the right place. And quite frankly, they had the street cred to give it to me. I needed to deal with whatever pain I was feeling. And then I had to be able to honor, right? I'm telling you guys, it always comes, everything I do, honor, courage, commitment. I have to honor that relationship. Like, they didn't even have to tell me that. They could have cared less. They could have just been like, meh, move on, and didn't. They stopped, gave thought to it, gave me the feedback. Now, what am I going to do with it? And so to Sherry's point, I don't have like maybe a North Star, as it were, in terms of one person. I've got people all throughout my life, inside and outside of what we do professionally. What I did do about 12 or 13 years ago was I built myself, not my idea, I got this from Stephen Covey. I built a board of directors. And that board, actually, there's only one person on the board. It's 7. There's 7. There's always has to be an odd number, because when they have to put things to vote to help me, there has to be an answer. So always keep an odd number right
You
now.
actually ask them to vote on things.
I do.
Wow.
And I do. Because there are times where I feel like I'm too emotionally charged or too close to something, or I have too many feels about something that I know that I'm not going to probably make a good decision. And if it were me, somebody coming to me, I'm not going to follow the advice that I think that I would give. And so I remove myself from the decisioning, because these people are people that I trust. I mean, like with everything, I trust them.
So I know I'm familiar with the concept, but if you could just explain to everybody, because there may not be a
board of directors. Yeah. So the board of directors, these are people that are, and every one of them is a truth teller. And some of them I'm very close to. Some of them I'm not very close to. Some of the 3 of the 7, the relationship I have with them is on my board of directors. The other 4 that I know more personally, right? Again, needing to get some kind of degrees of separation when it comes to things that are a little bit more sensitive. And so I pick these people from just all kinds of walks of life. Somebody that's from my church. I've got somebody that's at my firm. I've got somebody at my previous firm. I've got a family member that's in there. And so these people come from all over. And the idea is that when I need to make a decision and it's going to have repercussions of some sort, there's ripple effect, I reach out to my board of directors. When I don't know what to do, when I'm feeling like I'm in when I'm in a bit of a quagmire, or I'm just downright stuck. Or like I said earlier, if I can tell that I'm too emotionally in it and probably not going to make a good decision, or maybe the most prudent decision, I'm probably going to make a feeling decision only. I go to my board of directors. Here's my situation. Here's what I need. I need your help, because this is on what I'm thinking to do, and I don't know if it's right. So that board is just people who I know love and care enough about me